It's a bloody
Feeling
vibe.
that is a vibe.
What do you guys think of the intro first and foremost? That's new. We brought it to the
big things. We're stepping it up. Production values on fleek. Yeah, man. Expect to hear that track too on the radio too.
Thank you. You know what? I think it's my cousin, and definitely one of the things that I know with having you gentlemen on the stream tonight is definitely going to be a vibe as we chop up all things Spurs. We got a debutant on the Deji Spurs channel tonight. My guy, my good friend, Kieran. Kieran, how you feeling, my brother? And welcome to the channel.
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. It's exciting to be here, you know. Hopefully this is an exciting season. I don't think you would have seen me on something like this last season, you know. I had my head very deep in the sand, man. But no, hopefully, you know, we've had our recent sticking point. But I'm positive. I think we're gonna have a good season this season still.
Yeah. Yes, hopefully, and we're gonna get into it tonight. My guy Zeus, you know, the statistician, the stats man himself, and if all things Tottenham stats, this is your guy, yeah, because Zeus is the one who constantly breaking down the numbers for us. Zeus, welcome back again. How are you, my bro?
I'm good. We're getting the consistency back-to-back nights and shit. Like, jeez.
That's right.
Yeah, man, it's good.
All right, big up. So look, we're doing something different tonight, everybody. Big up to everyone that's already tuned in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Obviously, we got to do the kind of housekeeping before we kind of get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about the blueprint. For us Spurs fans, one of the things that I was saying on Spurs Talk Show Live on Sunday is that too often we as Spurs fans were quick to criticize Daniel Levy, we're quick to criticize the management, we're quick to criticize the transfer market. But actually, what are we doing as fans? How are we supporting our club? You get me? You talk about being a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, but what it feels like is that most Spurs supporters are riding off the wave. And what do I mean by that? If we are linked to a player, that's when Tottenham fans start shaking their bum violently and start commenting about the player that we're linked with. Case in point, Richarlison. I like Richarlison as a player. There's a lot of Spurs fans that don't like Richarlison. But when we were linked with him, none of you were cussing him. You were shaking your bum like me, violently in the streets, going, Samba football is coming to White Hart Lane or is coming to the Tottenham Stadium. 2-2s, he's not really kicked off, or his Spurs kind of career hasn't really gone in the direction we wanted to at the time we wanted to go, and everyone's getting vexed. We knew it was crap. Why did we spend 60 million on him? Why did we spend 65 million on Ndombele? Shut your mouth. When we were linked with Ndombele, you didn't say he was crap. You didn't say you weren't going to do nothing. You were shaking your bum and you were getting excited. So now what we're going to do tonight is different. If we say we're Spurs fans, then let's help out our club. Let's help our club out. Let's give them the blueprint to the end of the season. Because for me, right now, with everything that's going on, it feels like and it looks like a sinking ship. So what we're going to do tonight with my boy Kieran, with my boy Zeus, and Arthur, who's going to be coming in on the show shortly, is give you the blueprint to the January transfer window. Because for me, right now, we're going to be exploring the games against the up-and-coming teams. We're going to be looking at what we got to do and how many points that we need to hold. Do you get me? For us. But before we even do that, Kieran, I think it'll be poignant before we hear your kind of thoughts around the blueprint. What are your hopes for Tottenham Hotspur this season?
Well, if you would have asked me that a couple of weeks ago, you would have had some madness coming out of my mouth. But I think, obviously, I've been brought down to earth a bit. But now, realistically, I think what I think will happen and what I'm hoping will happen as well is that I think we can get top four. And I definitely think we can go all out for the FA Cup. You know what I mean? And I think we're, you know, obviously the squad is showing it's a bit thin right now. But for me, the FA Cup is played on a Saturday and a Sunday. You know, there's no Premier League games on the weekend of the FA Cup weekend. So it isn't like the games will be piling up. It'll be the same one game a week, you know, and it kicks off in January. And if we can add to the squad in January from early, which I've heard and actually say, which is good.
Yeah.
I think it puts us in good stead. You know what I mean?
100%. Brilliant. So, Kieran is saying his hopes for Spurs this season is top 4, and it's kind of timely because I'm going to bring my guy Arthur. Arthur, welcome into the building. You've come in at the right time.
Hi, man.
Before we break it down with the blueprint, sorry, throwing you straight into it right now. What are your hopes for Tottenham this season? And then I'm going to explain what the blueprint's about tonight, or you'll follow it anyway. But what's your hopes for Spurs this season?
For the whole season?
Yeah.
I hope that we manage to finish in the top 5, assuming the 5th gets us Champions League, and we do so continuing to play like we saw in the first few games of the season, that we continue in the same trajectory, that we ride the waves that we've already going to have, that we kind of come through the dips that we are just in at the moment, but we still feel strongly that we know what our Tottenham looks like, and we finish in the top 5. I think from this point now, I think we're in a position where we should be able to finish in the top 5. It's such a good start to the season. So I think I'd be disappointed if we didn't now, personally.
Yeah. Okay, 100%. Well said. Zeus, I'm bringing you back in. I know, but these two brothers don't know. What is your hopes for Tottenham Hotspurs this season? And it will all make sense when I throw in the next question. But hopes again, Zeus, just clarifying for everyone that's tuning in. What are you hoping for from our club?
I mean, like I said yesterday, my ask from the beginning was just to get the football right? Like I didn't, with the season with Conte was there, I went all in. I was like title challenge for sure. With going crazy with those Tunnel TV boys. So after that, I just really tempered expectations, and it was just good football. That's all I asked for, and Europe and all those other things would come after. So I'm not changing from that. Just because we had a great start, I'm not going to say challenge or even Europe. Mine was just good football. I just even mid-table finish was okay for me, as long as we're playing good football and there was something there. So the objective has been met, and I think more about it. What I would want is just Postecoglou to just learn more about the squad and the Premier League and which players he would want for, I guess, maybe next season, to be honest.
Fairs. And for me, I'm going to be shameless and tell you that my predictions for Tottenham Hotspur this season has been a little bit like our performances, up and down. So I explain. Before the season started, I wasn't expecting much. In fact, I was saying that 8th would be fine, provided we were playing better football. And it makes sense because for me, if I was expecting Pochettino to do well at Chelsea, Liverpool to be back, Man U to kick on, Arsenal to kick on, City to kick on, Villa to kick on, and bloody Newcastle to kick on. If all those teams kicked on and Spurs just, like Zeus is saying, improved their football, is 8th really a bad thing? In the grand scheme of things, probably not, because those are very, very good teams who I would say arguably at the beginning of the season were in better shape than Tottenham Hotspur. Having had our good start, however, I then moved into the lane of me and Kieran, because we were doing this in the office, where if Tottenham after 19 games was still in and around the top 3, then I'm going for a title challenge, and our manager would need to be backed in the January transfer window for us to mount a full-on title challenge. The kind of debacle of what's happened in the last week, which is not a debacle, we've had a bad week at the office, has brought me back down to size. And I'm probably in you guys' camp where I'm starting to think top 4 would be decent. I think top 4 for Spurs this season, I think would be respectable. However, let's deal with the issue at hand. I don't know about you, and I'm going to go straight to Kieran for this. I was left feeling quite bitter from the Chelsea game. And one of the things that I've seen is 100%. That the drop-off in quality, Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, does not fill me with any confidence. Just a quick thing on Postecoglou before we break down the next couple of games. Do you think he's making a mistake playing them two brothers and also playing the high line? And I'm going to throw that to Kieran, Arthur, Goose.
Can you hear me, guys? Because I think my connection ain't. You can hear me.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, hats off to the guy for continuing to try and play with his philosophy when we're going down to 9 minutes. I understand that, you die on your sword, but I do think it's a bit naive, from him. Personally, I just hope he can kind of learn from that and not be one of these managers that are too stubborn to kind of change when it actually really needs changing. So I think for me, on that sense, I think he was a bit naive. I wouldn't want to see it happen again if he was in that situation there. I mean, that game, you're never going to see another game like that again where everything completely goes wrong for us, hopefully in a long time. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I just think basically he just needs to try and adapt to the Premier League. I think he's adapted to the Premier League well. I think maybe this was a bit of a shock to the system. But I think for me, like I said, man, hopefully he can adapt. He can adapt and change things.
Yeah. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you. Arthur, straight into you, mate.
I probably don't fully agree with Kieran there, to be honest. I think what we've understood about Postecoglou's philosophy is that a big aspect of his philosophy is that he doesn't change. Like the moment he deviates, the moment he says, "Oh, actually, I want to play this way, but these players can't let me play this way," is the moment he shows weakness. Is the moment that
with 9 men, you have to.
Because what else are you? Because what else are you going to do? Like, to be honest, it's all margins, right? We saw a few weeks before when we played Liverpool with 9 men, they have a better depth of squad to be able to cope with certain things, but they defended and they defended and they defended, and ultimately, yes, you can say it was luck, but ultimately they lost. We lost as well, but we tried. What we did for him, I think, was prove that despite the fact that everyone's going to say you're crazy, that everyone in the stadium is going to go, "What are we doing?" If you still play it, if you still play that way, despite all of that external pressure, then he knows that you can handle it in any other situation. Because like you said, Kieran, that game isn't going to happen again. That was a freak game. It was crazy. He was not there. Obviously, he wants to win the game, but he's a big picture guy. That's why he's so calm the whole time. He's not there going, I'm going to do some desperate things and alter my philosophy, having been so solid that everyone has to get on board with him. As soon as he deviates to something because he's a little bit worried about how it might look, what people might judge about it, as soon as he does that, he says to all the players, "You can do the same thing." And that's the one thing he doesn't want. And so all of these situations are just tests for him, I think. And I think that's the right way to be. We wouldn't maybe handle it in the same way in 2-3 years' time when his team knows exactly what he wants of him. But at the moment, it's just simple instructions. Do not deviate from the plan, no matter how you feel, no matter how exposed you feel. Don't deviate. That's when he says he loves it. That was what he said about that Brisbane Raw defender, wasn't it? When they were 0-0. Brisbane Raw defender tried to pass out from the back, lost the ball, they conceded a goal. 2 minutes later, he did exactly the same thing, lost the ball and he conceded a goal. And after the game, Postecoglou said, "That's when I know they're on board." Because he did the same thing twice and he just applauded him, because that's how you get to a point. That's how you get to a point of not fearing failure.
He's different. And I think a positive from that is showing the golfing class between what we do have in our starting centre backs to what we have to kind of resort to right now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of puts the ball in Levy's plate in that sense. He's shown what he can do with 2 quality centre backs, clean sheets, top of the league. You put in another 2 like Dyer and Davies. And to answer your question, Deji, I don't think he's got no other choice really but to play Davies and Dyer. Do you know what I mean? And the other option it seems to be is Royale going in the centre back, and that to me that's just as bad. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you say?
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? If he's, you might have answered it, but 2-3 seasons, let's say 3 seasons in, he's been here a while. If he does that again, like in the similar circumstances, how do you take it? Do you take it the same way, or are you pissed?
Well, hopefully we would have better players to be able to kind of fill in where we need to within 2 to 3 years. So hopefully it wouldn't be as bad. If we went out and lost by trying to win the game, I don't really knock that. That's not the point. I just think when you've got Dyer and Davies centre back playing on the halfway line, like 1 ball away from a chance at goal, that's when the concern comes in. Do you know what I mean? From me, basically.
But I think the problem we have though, because these are the players we've got, right? These are the guys that we need to play. And the problem we have is that the good manager, the manager who knows what he's doing, realizes all of these things and doesn't make it about how his team has become weaker, because there is no way that those players will play to their maximum, whatever their maximum is. It isn't up to Van der Ven. It's not up to Romero. It is lacking in what we really want. But if we're going to get anything from it, they have to play at their best abilities that they possibly can. And they don't do that with a manager who doubts them by changing his system to accommodate them. There are other things that he'll do. He's not naive. He's not stupid. Like maybe we'll see Porro holding back a little bit more because his pace will be the last man when previously it was Van der Ven. Maybe those sort of things might change up. I don't think it's the case. He's not telling them to go out and play like Van der Ven and play like Romero. There are other things that we'll do. I just think it's really important that we don't change our philosophy for them, because that just gives them the message that they're kind of on borrowed time, and that just doesn't make for a good player.
Fairs. On that point, then, can I just ask a question? Because I was getting trolled and abused really on the weekend. After the Wolves game, I literally came off all streams for about a week. But I just want to see what side of the fence you guys sit on. Some people say that our capitulation, if that's the right word to use, against Wolves was another indication that the Spursy tag, the Spursy syndrome, the Spursy spirit is still there. I was arguing that actually, some people were saying that, we should have gone, with a lower block or blah, blah, blah. I was of the opinion that actually the plan was working, albeit Wolves were dominating the game. But for 90 minutes, we were in the lead. It was the 91st and the 98th minute. Just quickly before we kind of touch on what's up and coming, and I'll start with you, Zeus, and then Arthur, and then Kieran in that order. Was that, did we revert back to form, or were you happy with our performance against Wolves, if that makes sense? I think you guys feel what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I think I was happy with it, to be honest, as a whole. Like, that's the first game back where we've had to make a whole rash of changes with the Dogi missing, Van der Ven missing, who else was it? Madison. That's the first game that they have to relearn what they're going to do with the new players, right? So I was okay with losing that game. Losing it late, I'm not going to change my tune. Like, I was okay with losing it as a whole. The talk about, should we have gone to a low block? Because I think we were still kind of going for it, even at 1-0, at 1-1, we're still going as opposed to locking up shop. Maybe that's Postecoglou has said there's going to be a lot of ups, there's going to be a lot of downs in his tenure, especially in the first season. So he's still learning, he's still adapting. I know his overall philosophy of attacking when the players are there and all that, eye line, all that, that's there. But I think those last 8, when the goals were scored, that's just him learning the league. Like, eventually he will know exactly how to handle those situations. Like, does he lock up, set up in a low block, or depending on who he's playing, like, does he keep going for it? And I think he'll get better at those kind of things.
Cheers. Arthur.
I don't think he'll ever go for a low block. I just don't think we'll ever see him do that in any game at any point. And I'm not saying what I would do, whether I would do the same thing. I'm just saying, on the whole, I'm just happy that we have someone managing our club that just knows what they want and is just giving it straight. I think it's going to be a bit hairy. I think the Wolves game, pretty much the same as Jesus. I was pretty much happy with the performance in terms of what you could expect. The fallout from the Chelsea game was mad. It was mad. It was a crazy game. And then to play Wolves so soon after, with the one thing that Andrew had already said, was that he said, I think it was before the I think it might be before the Crystal Palace game. He said that the one area of the team that actually has the biggest improvement to make is the front third. The fluency isn't there. Actually, he's been surprised at how effective and well gelled the back four have been with Vicario, because of all the newbies and because of just starting their Premier League careers. So for us to suddenly have 4 of our defenders, the one thing that we were really relying on, because we were relying on defenders to keep us in the game and then getting a bit of magic from Madison or Son or Decky or whatever. but our front three and our front five really haven't been fluent yet. And he said, "Oh, that takes time. That's to be expected." So to take out our defence means that all we really had to go on against Wolves was our off the ball work, because there's no way that those players coming in could be fluent because they're just not playing together. So what do? We work hard. We work hard really off the ball, and I thought it was great up until the point that we ran out of legs. You know, we could have. I think, to be honest, straight after Johnson scored, I was a bit disappointed at how quickly we sort of played as though we were winning 1-0. I'm pretty sure that is not what Postecoglou wanted. It looked like they were like conserving their lead, and I feel like that comes from players who are a bit nervous, I think, and playing not playing together. On the whole, I was disappointed with the result, but on the whole, like Zeus, I thought, can't be too disappointed with the effort.
Yeah, no, fair. Kieran, then we'll move.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys, man. I think with all those changes, to get a point is what I was kind of hoping for, especially after the Chelsea game, just to get us moving forward again. I think, like Arthur said, I think we sat back way too early, which was a bit surprising. And it didn't really seem to change throughout the game, so it was a weird game. But I think for me, it's just the way of us losing it more than us losing it was the thing that hurt the most, the last second winner and whatnot. But it's done, and we just got to move forward with it now. And I think the problem is, for me, that I see is when pressure is applied to Davies and Dyer, because I think up until towards the end, they actually had a half decent game. I couldn't really knock them, to be fair. But once that pressure starts coming towards them,
thick and fast,
you just know something's going to happen, innit? We just all know. And to be fair, we don't really have a great record against Wolves away. Not just making any excuses or anything, but
they've been making Molineux a bit of a fortress.
They've
points of City.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But with all those changes at the back, it's a hard one to judge, innit? We just have to just take that L and kind of move forward. Really, I think game by game we should be getting like one defender back by each game we move forward. It seems like, apart from Van der Ven, obviously. But
Well, no, I hear you. I agree. I would have loved for us to hold on. I thought we tried. It was a valiant effort. I guess I wasn't so beat up about it. A bit like yourselves. One thing I think we can say with Tottenham this season, unlike other seasons, especially under that dusty Conte, is at least they're giving effort. And if players give effort, you got to commend them. Yeah. I think the issue we had was when we went to the Emirates and we literally bent over like little babies and allowed Arsenal to smack our bottom. That's when I was like, nah, this guy's got to go. We can't be going to our nearest rival.
Respect us as a club, man. That's
you know what I mean, and just rolling over. I hated that. So we know under Postecoglou we're going to go for it. But I won't lie though, losing that game has put fear in me. And I think it's put fear in a lot of Spurs fans. I just want to read out our next couple of games. And what we need to do as a panel is we need to come up with a plan. So all of us have said it now. Arthur, you've said it. Kieran, you said it. Zeus is the only one who hasn't said it. So he can kind of sit on the fence on this. The three of us have said we are expecting Champions League football for our club this season. Is that correct? Little hands up, yeah? We're hoping and expecting Champions League football. Mm-hmm. In order for us to get Champions League, we've got to be in the top four come January. I think it's fair to say. At least we've got to hold on tight until we're able to hopefully buy 3 editions, which I think we need to talk about just after this run, and then hopefully kick on. So our next 8 games in order is we've got Villa, Man City, West Ham, Newcastle. That's our next 4 games. Arthur, I'm going to come to you, mate. Mm-hmm. In the next 4 games, how many points do you think we can realistically achieve, given that we don't have Madders until Jan, we don't have Van der Ven until Jan, we won't have Romero for the Villa or City game? Your doggy's back though against Aston Villa, and that's about bloody it. How many points are we taking from the next 4 games? to stay in and
I
around.
would be over the moon if we got 9 points out of that, right? Over the moon. Okay. Hear me
9
out.
points.
Hold on. I'm not saying we will. But in isolation, even with the team that we've got, in isolation, I can see us turning over Villa at home, West Ham at home, and Newcastle at home. In isolation, I can see those things happening. It's just, are we going to be able to do it in such a short space of time? I think probably not. I think if we can get 7 points, 2 wins and a draw, I think Man City's a free hit, right? Like, we don't expect anything from playing against Man City. Our record against Man City has been, let's be honest, it's been because we've been playing in a way that is like anti-football. We've been sucking the joy out of games, waiting to hit them on the break. That's not how we're going to play against City.
No.
You know, we started off a good record against City under Pochettino, but that was also early doors Guardiola, and he's obviously become even better since then.
Yeah.
So I don't think we expect anything away from home at City. But I think we'll probably will put in a good performance. We'll ship a load of goals. Hopefully, we'll score a couple. I can see that being 5-2 to City. Do you know what I mean? Like I can see that. But
5-2. So
West Ham at home, I could see. I think we could get something from the City game. I just think it's unlikely, and I think I could see us putting in a good shift and be holding on 2-2 until 5 minutes to go, and then they just turn it on. I can see us being a team that Guardiola's Man City really enjoy playing against. But we will not achieve all our aims by beating Man City away, and we will not, fail all our aims by losing to Man City away. But we at home we have played really well at home. The Chelsea game was I was at the lane for the Chelsea game. It was mad. It was mental, and I genuinely think the players were impacted by how energetic that crowd was. It was so intense, and I think the players boiled over, and I don't think that will happen again. And it often doesn't really happen against anyone other than Chelsea for some reason. So I can genuinely see us beating Villa at home next game. I think it'd be tough, but I can see us turning over West Ham just because, these are home games. These are home games, and I think maybe a draw against Newcastle. So I'm going to go for 7 points because I'm positive.
So I've written that down. So Arthur is going for 7 points for Spurs. Mate, if we get 7 points, you are a legend. We will have receipts for days.
He said,
but like, what games do you think we're definitely losing then? What games do you think we're definitely losing here? And I know that we don't have Romero until after Man City, but we have him for West Ham. We have him for.
That's exactly it. That's it. We've got Romero back for those 2 home games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But and obviously the Villa game. But I think it's a slight non-entity because I think we need to remember that. I know this isn't how we want to be forever, but like teams don't know what to expect against us because we don't even know who's going to be playing for us. Do you know what I mean? They don't know who they're going to be playing against because we don't know who's going to be starting for us, and that can be to our advantage in the short term against a team like Villa at home after the international break. Like, it's hard. They don't have momentum. We don't have momentum. It's kind of starting again afresh. I can see us beating Villa without Romero.
No, fair. I think the only positive thing before I bring in Kieran is looking at the next 4 games. I mean, it's good that we had all those away games when we had the away games because 3 out of the 4 is at home. And maybe that's not something I even thought about or considered, actually, is we've got 3 home games in that run. And maybe that might just hold us in good stead. But Kieran, you seem to be nodding your head and smiling with Arthur.
Yeah, man.
What is your prediction for the next 4 games? Because Zeus ain't happy. Zeus was shaking his head. That's why I'm coming to Zeus.
Arthur's.
Listen, if you would have asked me this 2-3 weeks ago, I would have said clearly 10 points. Happily, I would have said that. You know what I mean? But like I said, realistically, 7 points. I think everything Arthur said, it makes sense. I don't fear Villa at home. Man City, I'll write that one off. I'll take the hit on that one. That is what it is, isn't it?
We always write that off, but we tend to
do well. This is it. Yeah. So it's just like maybe that's why we do well because we just write it off, and then there's no expectancy in it. That underdog, but I'll write that one off, like you said. West Ham at home, I think for me, out of the 4, I think is going to end up being the toughest one because I ain't gonna lie, they're playing some good football right now. They're on form. But
it's also a Thursday night as well. It's going to be edgy, like midweek night game. There's going to be a real edge to it.
That's a midweek game, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Thursday 7.
Oh, okay. But West Ham, you never know. But we're at home, so that gives us the edge on that one. And Newcastle's always one of them funny teams for us, isn't it? You know what I mean? But hopefully by that time, like we said, Romero's back, Doggy's back. Yeah, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing Johnson more, you know. And I think the more we see, he's looking really good. And I think he's going to end up being one of my best favorite players by the end of the season. He looks deadly. And I think if we can kind of just keep fitting him in, every time he comes on, he's either creating a chance or has an attempt himself. He's dangerous, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing him more. So hopefully by the time the Newcastle game comes around, he's bedded his feet in a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's an extra threat that we need up top, you know what I mean? Because Son's always going to be there. We know that Richarlison is like 30, 70, whether he's going to turn up or not. And Kulusevski, I think Kulusevski seems to be starting to come out of his shell a bit more recently as well. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, so for me, sorry, go on, what you say?
No, I was just about to say it just looks like Kulusevski's just picked up long distance running, in my opinion. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, no, all right, fair.
Yeah, that's 7 points. Sorry to be boring, but yeah, same thing, man. 7 points.
So we got 7 points, Kieran. 7 points, Arthur. Zeus.
Man, ow, like
Save the best till last, yeah.
No, you guys are super positive, which is good. But
bring it down.
Yeah, man. Like this is a transition. Like Villa is a good team. Like they are a good team. They smashed. I think they had one freak result, which was
they lost to
Newcastle. Yeah, 2-0. But prior to that, they were doing pretty well. Like they smashed Brighton 6. And I think actually, to be fair, like they are much better at home than
much better
at home. So maybe that should maybe temper things a little bit. But I would say it would be great to get a draw from that, right? Like we still don't know what our first 11 is going to look like. We're still trying to figure that out. So a win would be like, you know, our first 11 is there for sure. We kill them, but I still think, you know, we have to figure things out, and it's still a bit of who goes where, who's going to play in the middle, all that stuff. So I would maybe take a draw from that. City, we're going to get wiped. Like if Pascal playing the way he's playing, destroyed. West Ham,
which he will.
I don't know which one's which. It's like they're our bogey team or they're our bogey. I don't know. They usually like. I think there was a game. There's been a few games where we're up like 2-0, and then they come back and win 3-2. That's just. I'm expecting something like that. So that's probably going to be a loss. Newcastle is the only sure banker here, and that's because they are like walking wounded. They're way worse than us. So that's 3. I would be happy with 4 points from that run.
So you think with Romero back for the West Ham game, you at home, you'd have West Ham beat us?
Yeah, I usually like. I think the game where we were up 2-0, that was with Pochettino. That might have been 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
When we were flying high. I think
they scored wonder goals against us.
They scored a wonder goal.
It happens like consistently. It happens, and I usually just London Derby. I know, you know, it's a freakish game, and we usually
we won it in the last minute, didn't we? A couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, it's a
freakish
penalty
game.
In
the last minute.
Yeah, random things be happening, but I remember like just consistently like West Ham just, you know, being like deflating results against West Ham. So I'm kind of like, but Newcastle is the only short. So I'll be happy with 4. I will be very happy with 4 points. These men, the 7. I guess that's what you guys are saying. You're saying the West Ham game, but 4 is like okay with all the injuries and with the threadbare squad that we have. I'll be happy with that.
Mate, I would say if we get 7 points or 9 points, then Arthur, Kieran, you guys are legends. I'm actually going to do a first on this channel tonight and actually go one. I'm Mr. Optimistic when it comes to all things Spurs, but I cannot see anything but 3 points.
And what's that? Three draws, or who are we beating?
Yeah, so Ben, I've got Arthur, I've got Ben on the show tomorrow for the preview Villa, and he's been shaking his bum violently for Villa in terms of Unai Emery, the work that he's doing, the way he's got Villa playing. They don't have the same sort of injuries as us. They've got Luis Diaz, who's been on, or Lewis Douglas Luiz, that is on point. Matty Cash is playing like a madman right now. Is it that the RB guy up front with his pace? He's just looking
Watkins,
great, crazy. You got Watkins on form. You got bloody Leon Bailey. Do I need to carry on? Do you know what I mean? Like at the moment, defensively sound. They've got bloody Pau Torres, who we were linked with for about 3 years. They got Pau Torres just spreading balls.
He's not particularly quick though, man. He's not particularly quick.
I know, but
what do we have apart from our defense? Like Johnson, Son, Kulusevski. Would you be happy if it was if Bentancur got a start alongside Star? So how much of a drop off is that then when we've got Maddison? How much is it like?
Bentancur is fine for me. I think Bentancur and Maddison, you can swap him. When Bentancur was on form before he had the injury, mate, he was up there with one of the best midfielders in the league. I guess for me, the fear I have is the Premier League these are elite players. You know, we know this. So let's call the attacking aspect equal. For hypothetically saying, I think our midfield is slightly superior, but remember, we don't have
whose is equal at Villa's attacking options compared to ours. No way. No
at
way.
Home. I mean, at all, but at home.
I mean, Ollie Watkins
at home. No way.
Ollie Watkins is great.
Is he Dominic Calvert-Lewin, mate? They come every now and then. They have a good hot 3 months, 4 months, and then it falls off. Look, if it doesn't happen, fair enough, innit? But I'm not worried about Ollie Watkins. I am if Dyer and Davies are there, obviously. But on a normal day, Ollie Watkins does nothing. Leon Bailey, when's the last time you heard him do anything? Do you know what I mean?
Just adding to Watkins' point, just Watkins, like, you know, he played today, the Macedonia game, and he was
non-existent. At half time. They subbed him at half time.
I mean, playing for England is hard though. It's a bit different.
I do think our forwards at home and our midfield, even without Maddison, if Bentancur comes in,
and there's no Basuma. There's no Basuma either.
No, but Højbjerg didn't find that too difficult against Palace, and I'm not saying I would rather Højbjerg over Basuma. No chance. But we didn't have a huge drop off in that area of the game. He just does what he does very, very well, and it was still useful. So him and Sarr and Bentancur with Son and Johnson and Decky, like I fancy us keeping the ball away from our defense. That's the job. So. That's what they've got to do.
That's what we
at home. Do. I think we've got to back. I think we've got to back that.
Man, I want to. I'm just scared to death.
You know what the thing is, Deji? You know, let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. Up until the Chelsea game, we lost that game with 9 men. Yeah. The next game, Wolves, we lost that game in the last kick of the game away to Wolves. If you get a point away to Wolves, it ain't the worst thing in the world. Do you know what I mean? And we've done that with a defense that hasn't played together all season. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, I think we're underestimating how well we're actually doing and how good we are as a team right now. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of other pundits are as well. And to me, that's a good thing. I want them to keep keeping us under the radar. And maybe those couple of losses brought everyone back kind of down to earth a little bit. But I definitely believe once we start playing our football, there isn't many teams out there that are going to be able to keep up with us, especially where we're only playing once a week. Do you know what I mean? A lot of these other teams, they're focusing on European games and all of this kind of stuff in between and stuff. That's another point. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're getting 2 players back by the time what game is it? The West Ham game's back. And then we're just missing really Van der Ven and Maddison, which is 2 big. Don't get me wrong. But like you said, we got Bentancur coming back to full fitness.
He is, but he's not Madders though.
Yeah, exactly.
But what Madders has been doing is he's almost like a hybrid of Kane and Madders. Yeah. You know what I mean? What he's been bringing is next level stuff, to be honest.
No, I agree. But Bentancur isn't a bit like, you know, if you're going to replace Madders, it isn't.
And there's stories, isn't there? There's stories to be written. This is what this is all about. I'm not saying I want Maddison to be injured, but there's a story to be written for Lo Celso to come and do something for a game. I don't think it's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not predicting.
You'll be surprised.
I'm just saying that we always get surprised. This stuff happens. Like players that have been left to the wayside come in and do something. Players like have been booed last season, like Emerson did, and turns out to be a really, really, really good, useful player.
Look at Basuma last season.
Look at Basuma. Like these things can happen, but they will never happen if we just assume that they won't.
So
Like,
you're
no,
saying
everyone
it's
just
also
goes nuts.
had so many
Celsius
chances,
of this
man.
world, the Brian Hills, because Brian Hill for me, mate,
He's got the qualities for an Ange player, hasn't he? But we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
But this is this is the time to see it. This is the running up until from now to Christmas.
Yeah.
You always know there's loads of games, and this is where players have to kind of step up to the chance.
It's ridiculous. But I was going to say, and obviously this is all hypotheticals, right? But against Chelsea, Eric Dyer was like a toes width off from being some kind of crazy hero, coming back for the Chelsea game, coming on and scoring us a goal when we were down to 9 men. That was margins, and that wasn't to do with quality of player or him not being as good as this player or that. That was a margin that was uncontrollable, and it could have been so easily been this thing, and we would have won the game with 9 men, and Eric Dyer would have been the winner.
Exactly.
That's mad. And so if that could happen, which we saw it almost did, why write off someone like Hill coming in and having a worldie, or Lo Celso coming in and playing a good couple of games? It can happen.
No, fair. And look, I hope it happens. Zeus knows me. I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to Spurs.
Look at the Gareth Bale story, Edgy.
I do think Van de Ven, though, and Maddison, they took us to that level where we were guaranteed top 4, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Van de Ven being out, Madders being out until January, for me, has just left a sour taste in my mouth, where I feel like Bentancur is good, but he's not a replacement. Eric Dyer is just...
But that's why we're not guaranteed.
And that's why I'm scared. I just think we're playing with 9 men again, against Villa, against City, against West Ham. West Ham have been playing some bloody good football, mate. They've been playing some really good stuff. The only team I think we might beat is Newcastle, and that's simply because they've got worse injuries than Spurs. Apart from that, I really do struggle to see us getting any points in these next 4 games.
I would say, I agree that the impact of losing Van de Ven in particular, just because of the one very specific skill that he gave us, which allowed us to play such a high line, that is huge. That is huge. But if we were only ever losing one player who we'd only just bought, who'd never played in the Premier League before, if we were only ever losing that player away from not succeeding in our targets this season, then it was too tenuous anyway.
Exactly.
We cannot. That cannot be the reason that we do not achieve top 4. If that was the only reason, then we don't. That's not how it works. We've got to. It's a bigger picture. This guy isn't just sitting there waiting for Van de Ven to come back. He's a manager. He's lost players before. He's played players out of position before. He's done all of that stuff. Like, there's no way that he hasn't been coming up with some sort of plan. This is where he earns his money, right? And he knows it. And this is the bit that he loves. Everyone's like, "What can you do? What can you do? You've lost your new star defender. You've lost your number 10. What can you do?" And he's like, "Oh, now we can really show them what we can do." He's so motivated by this stuff, and I just really believe we'll have a plan.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, Arthur, mate. You're making me feel a lot bloody better. Man came in morose. I had us down to play, lose all our games, but you man are making me see something.
12 points. 12 points.
Completely different. 12 points potentially. So, if you're saying that 7, so we're hoping maximum 7, lowest 3 points is what we're saying here on this channel in terms of Spurs' next round of games, and I think we can leave the Nottingham Forest, Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth, because at that stage we should have a picture after those 4 games where Spurs be.
Yeah.
So come January transfer window, if we want to maintain this top 4 Champions League football for next season, what do we need to do and where? And I want to start with Zeus. I have a number in my head of what I think we need. What do we need to bring in to take us to the promised land? I'm going to go Zeus, Kieran, Arthur, and then myself. Zeus, take us to the promised land. What do we need to do?
100%.
This is the blueprint. This is what Postecoglou is watching the show later on tonight, and he's taking bloody notes. So, boys, make it good, all right?
All right, cool. All right, so definitely a replacement center back, like a backup center back.
Have you got anyone in mind?
No name jumps out at me. Like, I haven't. Yeah, no name jumps out at me yet. But yeah, definitely that. I think what's that dude from Chelsea? No, there's
Chalobah.
Yeah, that's I've seen, I've seen some. I think I watched some videos saying that he could be a good replacement. But yeah, hopefully someone like that who can play center back and maybe even on left back or right back, that kind of thing. So that kind of diversity. Then a replacement for Madison, like someone who's like can play that number 10 creative role. Apparently, there's someone in our, I guess a youth player, Jamie Donnelly. Apparently, is his name.
Jamie Donnelly. Jamie Donnelly. He's a good player.
And they say that he's that exact player. So we might not even need to bring in someone. Like that's what I've been, some of the accounts I follow, they say like he's literally Madison.
He scored for England again yesterday as well, I think it was.
Yeah.
So we might not, so hopefully, during this run, maybe he gets a run out, and we can see what he does. But definitely the center back cover is priority number one. That's priority number one. And then a replacement for Madison, but only if Donnelly is not getting games or up to Postecoglou's standards.
Fair. Zeus, thanks. Fair. Kieran.
Yeah.
So defender and Donnelly. Good shout.
Donnelly, I've watched him play actually a couple times recently. He's a good player, really good player, smart player. I don't know if this will be a jump too soon for him, but it'll be interesting to see him play. It'll be interesting if you see who we get in the FA Cup. Might be a good chance to get a run out. But I think for me personally, like I said, I've never said this before ever as a Tottenham fan, but whoever Ange is interested in getting, that's who I'm with in regards to wherever he's on, I'm on. Yeah. I've never said that about no other manager before. He's great. And he obviously knows what style of play he wants. I think, like I said earlier, he's proven and he's shown to everyone what he can do, and I think it's now down to Levy to back him. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of put the ball in his court. And one thing I've heard Ange say recently, which I really liked, and I haven't heard any of our managers say this before, is that he wants to get business done in January and get it done early. He doesn't want to do stuff late in the January window and all that. He wants to have his squad settled as soon as possible. So hopefully, within the first week, we see a couple signings, and it looks like we're going to need that anyway. But I think there's a couple names I've jotted down for me. I think we definitely need a centre-back. And the only name I keep seeing us heading towards is this Lloyd Kelly kid from Bournemouth. He doesn't look too bad. Apparently, he's very fast and that. But if Ange wants him, then like I said, I want him. But one player that would be a shout, and I think we definitely would boost it. I think we need a striker, but I'm not too sure about that Stuttgart kid. The one from Stuttgart, he looks good, but I don't.
Is he? I know the one you're talking about. I forgot his name.
Record over there and everything. He's got a good release clause. But the one that I want to shout about and see what you guys think is Marcus Edwards from Sporting Lisbon, and we also get discount off of him basically because we've got a buyback clause on him. So he's got a release clause for I think 50 million, and then we get I think 25% off of that or something around those figures there. And he can cover for Madison. He could also cover on the right-hand side for Kulusevski. He destroyed us twice in the Champions League single-handedly. Yeah. And he's an English homegrown player. So you know what I mean. We need that.
Porro's bedroom as well.
Porro's bedroom as well. Yeah. You know what I mean. So, and he's a Tottenham boy through and through. He come up through the ranks. Do you know what I mean? So and he's got a point to prove over it. So I think that might be a good shot, that one. But we definitely need a striker or someone creative that can get goals as well, like a Matoma type player.
Matoma. Okay, lovely. Matoma, that might be.
I don't think we'll get Matoma. Way too pricey. Definitely won't in January anyway. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
And I think he just signed a new contract. I think as well, didn't he? So but you'll probably.
But someone like that, basically.
Yeah.
Is what we need,
Yeah. Are you in agreement with Zeus and Kieran?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I don't think we will see activity as a response to our injuries.
What?
We needed. I don't think we will. Not as a response.
That was a Debbie Downer, man.
No, because like we needed a defender he wanted an extra defender in the summer. He said as much. He said, but they tried, but the right one couldn't cross the line. He's okay with that. That happens. So we knew we needed more to cover in defence before Van de Ven got injured and before Romero reminded us that he was a bit crazy every now and again. Like, we knew we needed that, so that doesn't change. I don't think, I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't, I just don't think we as a club are going to go and buy a player to cover for the fact we've now lost Maddison. Like, or because I just don't think that that's how he works. I think like the plan he'll have a plan to bring in. I think he probably wants another winger because he loves his wingers. But he wants another winger. We've been linked to what's that kid Samuel Illing Jr. the English kid in Juventus. He was bought by. He used to play for Chelsea. And he went there when he was in 2020 or something. Apparently, we're really interested in him.
And Rafinha as well coming out in the papers.
Yeah, exactly. And there's obviously the Paratici link with Juventus as well, doing deals.
Yeah.
Still working. Not legally, whatever. It doesn't really matter, does it? So I think he's quite interested in getting a winger. But I don't think he will be buying someone as cover for Maddison because we've got players that can play in that position. Because I think Jamie Donnelly obviously isn't total cover, but we do still have Lo Celso. We're not going to get rid of him until the summer, I imagine, unless we get a replacement. I can only see us buying a player in that position if someone like Lo Celso goes out in January because he's not getting game time. I can't see us doing it otherwise because that would be jumping ahead of schedule. That wasn't our plan.
Sorry to push back, Arthur, but don't you want to see that? Don't you want to see, okay, we've got a good first 11, and now they're like, all right, to have a good solid, I don't know, 14, not even 14, like 15 players.
I do. I 100% I do. I just, and this is not me being a downer. I just have witnessed both with us as Tottenham and in other teams over the years, the ability to do that at the pace that we fans want it to happen and for it to be sustainable is just not doable. Like, we can't get all those players at that level at this point in the project. We're not in Europe yet. We're not there with all the games. We're already out of the League Cup. I think at the moment, the project has to be getting a really, really top quality first 11, 12, 13, 14, and then bringing through the youngsters, because the youngsters are going to be able to mold their attitudes. They're going to be a lot more positive and a lot more happy about being in the setup, learning from an early stage, learning from the senior players, whereas bringing in a player who ordinarily would be getting more minutes, or bringing them in to cover an injury only to then put them on the bench when the player that they were covering comes back in because we know that Maddison's always going to start. I don't know how easy that is to manage the morale in the squad, and I think it's exactly why someone like Postecoglou says, and all managers say, but he definitely said clearly, this is never going to get done in one window or 2 windows or 3 windows. This is a long-term thing. You build, because it's so difficult to create a culture. It's so difficult to make it positive, and it's so easy to fuck it. Like, one bad player, one bad mood, one bad, imagine if Højbjerg or Davies or Dyer were kicking off because they weren't getting minutes. Like, the reason why he's kept those players there is because they actually offer something to the group. None of those players would be there if they were bringing anything negative. And I think that's a really difficult thing to manage at this stage, trying to bring in top quality players to play for the squad.
So what you're saying is if no player, no transfers in January for any player to come into the first team setup kind of thing. You're okay.
So I think we'll be getting a defender, but I don't think we'll be buying a player who expects to be in the first 11 in January. I also think it's really hard to do that in January.
Arthur, you just debunked my whole kind of segment, and hence why I was trying.
So what area on the pitch would be better? What in our first 11, everyone fit, would be better by buying someone in January? Who could we get that would be better than?
This is wishful thinking, but I had 3 areas that I thought we needed to fix, obviously, and everyone's kind of said it. We need a centre back, and I just think for me, sometimes your plan.
That's a squad, though, right? That's a squad player, not a centre back to start.
Yeah, but look, life, business. You weren't planning to have kids, and then your missus is pregnant. You deal with it, right? You don't say, "Oh no, we're gonna wait 3 or 4 years." Sometimes that's the plan, but then things go a bit quicker, and then you kind of deal with it. And I feel like with Spurs, Postecoglou, if he's honest with himself, wasn't expecting this. he wasn't expecting the squad to gel so quickly. And that's why I asked the question at the beginning. Given what you've seen so far, has your expectations shifted? And clearly it has, because prior to him coming in, none of us was even dreaming about Champions League football. We were just hoping to be in the top half of the table. So for me, I think we should go on. Look, we are 2 points off top. If you're right, Kieran and Arthur, if Tottenham can get 7 points in their next 4 games, then I'm saying we go for broke. We are going for the Prem, because they say if you go for the Prem and you finish third, it's still a bloody great season. So with that in mind, I think we need to be getting in a Tapsoba at centre-back. Has to be of a Van der Ven type level, because I think Romero is a madman. And also there are things Anthony Herbert says Romero could be looking to leave. I think if you bring in a Tapsoba, he's probably not going to leave in Jan, but I wouldn't mind Romero leaving in the summer, partly because he kind of pissed me off with his kind of stupid behavior. And actually, I just want someone who's a little bit more calmer. I love Romero. I think he's a world-class defender, but I don't know if I can trust him. What he did in that Chelsea, man, he really pissed me off. And I think he's the reason why we lost that game and why Van der Ven got injured, in my opinion, because if he's kept his cool, maybe those things don't happen. In the midfield,
way, bro.
In the midfield, I am going with a replacement for Maddison, and the only replacement that I can think of is Griezmann. Now, a lot of people think I'm bloody crazy for saying this. All right, Griezmann is probably Madders-like. This guy can thread balls. People telling me a 32, 33-year-old Griezmann is not coming to sit on the bench at Spurs. I will say, why bloody not? Let him, because Maddison needs competition. He can't just be sitting there chilling like a villain. He needs comp right now. And then striker-wise, I am quite happy for us to get an hour knee, to be honest. I don't even mind who we got up top, to be honest. I really, it's got to be Son for me. Leave Son there. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Wishful thinking. Griezmann.
But they're also not Postecoglou players, man. Griezmann is not a Postecoglou player. At that stage of his career, playing that constant press, constantly playing for the team. Like, he's a great player, but he's not going to be an option for Postecoglou, who's trying to, he's after players that we haven't even heard of because he's got a Wikipedia football brain and he knows a player playing from Club America in Mexico or whatever, and he's going to be a star. Like, this is where we're going to get the edge, right? Because Tapsoba is not going to come and play for us when Van der Ven and Romero are for us, and we're not going to get rid of Romero when we spent so much money on him. And Postecoglou's already said that he's one of the best defenders he's ever managed. He doesn't change his mind after one game, aberration as it was. So we're not going to get, and I don't want someone coming in feeling entitled to play and then making it all about themselves. The manager is picking players that makes everything about the team.
Yeah,
it's not,
I agree, man. No way.
I think, there was these rumors about when everyone knows about how Postecoglou always speaks to these guys on the phone before, and he makes a decision over a conversation. He did it with Madders, he did it with, whatever, did it with Vicario. And the rumors had it that we were going to sign a player in the summer, and he had a phone call with them, and then was like, no, this player wants to leave their club more than they want to come to Spurs. And I don't know who it was, but there were rumors that was Raya. That was when he spoke to Raya. It was more about him getting out of Brentford than it was about him coming to Spurs, which is evidence as such because he clearly just wanted to get out of Brentford. Not a bad player, wonderful footballer, whatever. But Postecoglou was like, nah, that's not for me. So any player that has that sort of edge that we think has great stats here or thinks that they should be starting for us or that they deserve to play for Spurs, he's not going to want them. And a player like Tapsoba is going to be that player. He doesn't come in to play squad game for a team that's not even in Europe. He makes it about himself. That's why he goes and gets young players and builds them up. I'm looking forward to us signing someone I've never heard of, and then him playing and going, oh, fucking hell, we can do it just like Brighton.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what Ange does. I don't think we're going to be going out spending 50, 60 million on players and all of that. We're going to find a £2 million striker from Japan or something crazy like that. Trust me.
And if he wants that, that's brilliant. If he says, I want this, that's brilliant.
And that's part of the reason why Levy probably signed him in the first place, because Levy probably knows that too. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But do you guys agree though? Given if we're able to achieve what I guess the point I'm trying to make is, bloody hell, this is an opportunity. Do you know what I mean? We don't get many opportunities like this where we're 2 points off the top after 12 games. Usually by this time there's already a gap. And actually, if we do what you guys have just stated in the blueprint and get 7 points in our next 4 games, then we should be going for broke. I don't mind, but we need to be bringing in quality. We need to be bringing in someone who can challenge Madison. We need to be bringing in someone.
Think about it.
I'm just not happy with the Dyer thing. I can't lie to you. I'm pissed off. Even with Romero back, we are still weak at the back.
But think about it, right? If we have a plan, right? We have a plan right now. They obviously have a plan. They have a project, and we're doing better than we expected. Why would we change the plan? Just keep doing what we're doing.
No, man. No, I don't agree with that, man. I don't agree with that at all. If you're that
don't
close,
don't try and speed things up just because we're getting a bit hungry.
Winning Premier League, like I don't know.
You know what, guys?
3 seasons ahead of schedule.
If we was in January, if we was 2 points off the top come January, then I would agree with you in regards to, yes, let's invest, but I don't think it will be the type of investment that you guys think it will be, like buying the top players from all over the league, Osimhen, Griezmann. I don't think we're going to buy any of those players.
No.
I don't think we'll buy any of those players under Ange.
I don't want them.
To be honest with you.
I don't want them.
And I agree with Arthur. I don't really want them. It's the same type of thing with Mourinho and Conte. You got to understand, guys, people from the outside world, they don't look at Tottenham as the pinnacle of anything, really. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? Get these top European players. Like, let's be real, fam. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's true. A lot of them, they want to see the biggest top clubs that are always winning Champions League or in the Champions League final and all of that. And all these other clubs is almost like stepping stones. And I don't want to be a stepping stone for anyone. Do you know what I mean?
No,
we create legends. Look at Modric. Look at Bell. Do you know what I'm saying? This is what we do. Harry Kane. This is what we do. And I think we need to.
How many people did? How many people said, oh shit, we shouldn't have got Vicario, we should have got Raya? What are they saying now? How many people said we should have got Tapsoba and not Van der Ven? What are they saying now? Oh, we need a new left back. Oh, who's this Udogi? All these players, the reason why we're having such a great time at the moment is because it's all a surprise. So let's not go revert to type and go, let's go get this great player from this great team because they've done great already. Let's keep doing what we're doing.
Anthony Herbert in the chat with a very good shout. He's like, let's say we're close, thereabouts in January. Ivan Toney, do you go for that kind of deal?
If the deal's right, I would. If the money's right, but if they're talking 80 million, then hell no way. We'll save that, keep that.
That's a good shout. I think he would relish a chance to join Spurs to step up, right?
Shaking their bum for him violently, but I've been on the fence about Ivan Toney. Maybe my football knowledge is just not up there. I'm not even sure he can make the step up.
I don't know, man. He's been pretty consistent with Brentford.
I think he's a great player, but what's the dynamic in the team? How fine is the balance of the dynamic in the team? And I'm not criticizing Ivan Toney, but he's a big personality, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with him. How easy is it to manage that? And he's coming into a position that basically that means Son's moving back to the left.
No.
Okay, so is Johnson moving to the bench? And because otherwise Becky's not playing. I don't think that he's a sort of player that I'd be surprised if we went for him. I don't think I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's what Postecoglou wants through the middle. I think he wants Son through the middle. I think if we had a chance to buy Eze, he'd jump on that. Another winger who's technically really proficient and can do a bunch of different things. I don't think Tony's a Spurs player.
What about an Aouni? What about someone like that?
Like
Aouni, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur's basically saying that he doesn't think really Postecoglou wants a number 9. Maybe he wants a kind of Pedro Neto type. I
don't think he was lying when he said that. He said that I'm not going to replace Harry Kane. We're not looking for a number 9. We couldn't believe it because obviously we've just had Harry Kane for so many years. I don't think he's ever lied. I think he doesn't play with that sort of number 9. You buy someone like Ivan Toney, he's going to have to play it. What does that do for the rest of the team? I think the ramifications are quite big in order to try and scrape back some of those goals that we were never going to score again now that Kane's gone. We're scoring loads of goals.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just saying you want like Son, give him a break every now and again. Like, yeah, it can't just be on his shoulder. Like right now, the replacement for Son, I guess, is Richarlison, and I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not on a Richarlison replacement is what I'm looking for essentially.
yeah, I agree. I can agree with that, and I think you're right. I think Son can have a break, but I think actually what he's trying to do is buy players that can play across the middle. I think when in the not too distant future, we will see Johnson move to the middle every now and again within games. I think he sees him as a potential through the middle as well, and I think that he wants to do that amongst the players, so they're all rotating multiple roles, rather than getting someone like Tony and rotating him with Son. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe when Solomon, those other guys come back in January, then we wouldn't need as much of a direct cover for.
Yeah.
Son.
Okay.
I'm still unconvinced about Solomon, but that's a.
I'm not really feeling Solomon or Perez.
I get Jose Dominguez vibes from Solomon. If anyone can remember Jose Dominguez.
I'm not on that at all. Well, last thing before we go. Thank you guys. I mean, we've done an hour solid. I think we've got the blueprint here, and basically, from what I'm saying is, if it's not broke, what I'm hearing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Kind of vibes coming from the panel. So, last question is: if we don't buy in Jan, is that a floppage by Daniel Levy? Or do you think that just won't happen under Postecoglou? Because for me, I'm going on this point that we've got an opportunity here to cement top four and even mount a title challenge. I know it's early, but things can happen. Stranger things have happened. Take your man back to Leicester City, but also take your mind back to last season with bloody Arsenal. Arsenal should not be considered title challenges. They were 8th the season before or 5th. And then they bloody went and mounted the title challenge to the last 7 games of the season. Should Spurs fans be utterly pissed if we don't buy anybody in Jan? And then we confirm that Levy is a madman. And I'm going to start with Kieran on that one. Alpha. Kieran.
100%. He's got to back him. I mean, there's been too many times where we've been close-ish to things, or we've had good runs. The Pochettino era, I understand that, because the stadium, all of that, they were financially structured, it wasn't settled, so maybe he didn't invest at that time. But selling Moussa Dembele for 10 million in January and not replacing him, that's unforgivable. Do you know what I mean? In the same year that we got to the Champions League final, by the way. But I think in regards to this, what's different about this as well is that I think Postecoglou has established something, and he's established something that everybody has taken note of. Do you know what I mean? And he's put a bit of respect back on our name compared to where it was going over the last 2-3 seasons. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people don't even mention that we was in the Champions League final a few years ago, and had a great team under Pochettino. But I think where he's done that, if Levy does now financially back him, especially where you've just sold Kane, I think that it sends a good message out to the fans, and I think it will put Levy in a better place than where he has been, and it will save him a lot of face if he actually does. I think it's needed, but I think Andrew's the type of person that Levy knows. Andrew's the type of person that isn't going to just ask him for £100 million for a £100 million player. He's going to actually get what he actually needs, and whether that be one player, whether it be the one right player, it will end up with one right player. But yeah, overall, Levy has to back him, and back him early as well.
100%. Arthur.
Yeah, I think, he has to back him. What I don't want to happen is to let myself be governed by what I'm told is going on by newspapers or whatever, because half of it's a load of shit. What I want is for Ange to get what he asks for, right? And we don't know what he's going to ask for. We can, there's been so many predictions about sort of players he wants, and he always pulls out surprises. And he's gone on record as saying, I don't give a list of players. I give one player. I make it easy for them and difficult. This is the one player I want. And he's also said you don't always get the player you want, but he's not someone who then goes and gets a player he doesn't want just to make up numbers. So I also rely on the fact that so far, touchwood, up until now, all of his press conferences, all of his chat seems really honest, really genuine. We will know if he is not getting the right response from the board in his request. We will know that in his interviews. He's a team player, and he says, obviously Levy's just hired all this new recruitment team, and Johan Lang and whatever his name, Rob McKenzie or whatever it is, the chief scout. They've not been hired to do nothing. The desire is to identify and get the players that we need. But I don't think that we're always going to get what we want. But that doesn't necessarily always come down to lack of effort or lack of trying. Sometimes it comes down to just sticking to your guns and going, okay, we can't get the player we want right now. We're good. We can hold on till the summer. And that's about planning, isn't it? And so long as Postecoglou has asked for that and gets what he's asked for, I'm happy with anything. I think we'll do some early business, and I think it will be a defender, and everything on top of that will be a bonus, or the typical kind of Levy opportunism where something comes up and he just can't help himself. But it will only happen if Postecoglou's up for it, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'll take that here. Zeus?
Yeah. I mean, so Harry Kane money, or some there should be some left over. The big Joe Louis cash injection, there must be some left over from that. So, and just regular course of business from revenues and all that stuff. There should be some of that. So there should be some purchases, and the idea that Postecoglou is really shaping the squad that he wants. A lot of the players here are from Mourinho era, for God's sakes, right? And even prior to that. But I would be happier if there are more people, more outgoings, to be honest. Yeah. So we really get a sense of who he doesn't like. Like some of the guys that I'm, not sold on: Richarlison, Lo Celso, Højbjerg. I think Juventus have been swooping around for him. Brian Hill, I don't know, he's been around for a while, often injured, but doesn't seem to be that guy. Maybe even, I don't know, I know Perisic, I think his deal is up in the summer. Can they cut him early or something? I don't know what they can do there. But just some of the, I would say deadwood, or the people who, they haven't really made a mark. And Ndombele, for goodness sake, just some guys who haven't really made a mark, they start to shed, and I think Postecoglou would have had a great look at them and be like, we can't do anything here, so getting rid of those guys. That would make me happier, because it's like, okay, he's really has a stamp on, he's really making a mark on who he wants here and who he doesn't want.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you know what? I feel full confidence. I like you. I agree. I think Postecoglou is someone who what I love about him in these press conferences, everybody kind of doubts him, including our own bloody chairman. We didn't get a big name. Excuse me, I am a big name. Do you know what I mean? Like, he knows himself. He's probably the only one who knew that he could do what he's doing now with a better squad. And I love the fact that he's happy to be at our club. And I think he will do some business. I mean, he's given us the signs. He said he wants to do business early. So I think the defender has to come in, because Van der Ven, that injury just looked terrible. But I would like cover for Maddison as well, because I just think, even though we've got Bentancur back, we also got to bear in mind that there is the African Nations Cup in January. Can we just solely rely on Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Madders when he comes back? It just takes one to get injured, and we're back to square one, at least until Basuma and Sarr come back. And that's also bearing in mind that they don't come back with an injury. So, I mean, there's a whole load of things. So we have to strengthen. At least one player has to come in that midfield role in Jan. Has to. Or we're taking too big a risk. We need definitely that defensive cover. We get those two places, or like you said, you bring up a Donnelly from the academy. I think we can be doing all right. And I like that, Arthur, that idea that maybe Brennan Johnson becomes our number 9. Wouldn't that be amazing? I think with the pace that we like to play football, we know that Postecoglou likes fast players. Getting Brennan Johnson to kind of play that role, that would be amazing. But look, who knows? The fingers crossed, though, first and foremost, is we got to get it over the line against Aston Villa. So we are going to round up now. It's been a great talk. We've given you, Spurs fans, we've given you the blueprint. We've told you, we've been optimistic. It's not financial advice, but some of you need to be putting down cheeky tenors for the 7 points for the next 4 games. Arthur, before you leave, just give us the scoreline for this weekend. Give us the scoreline, and then we can review it next week. What will be the score against Villa?
3-1. 3-1 to us.
Oh my days. 3-1.
I'll be there. 3-1. I'll be there. Look,
you guys,
mate, look, this is the only period of time where I can be positive, which is about 5 days before a match. As I get closer to the match, I lose positivity. So you come speaking to me on the morning of Sunday, I'll be like, good, if we can get out with a draw, I'll be happy with it. Because I'm so far away from it, at the moment, I'm just like positive. But when I get closer to it, I get realistic. But at the moment, I'm going to go 3-1. And why the hell not?
Why not? Why not? Bloody hell. Come on, Zeus. Come on. I hope you look. Arthur and Kieran have fed you the vibes tonight. Read you the vibes. What are you going with this weekend?
2-0 Villa, man. Yo, hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised, but you know, if we go down early and then we keep pushing and then Villa next one, that's kind of what I would expect.
What was the score we lost?
Not scoring at home. Not scoring at home against Villa.
But
hey,
last
it's gonna
season
be...
we lost how much? What was the score at home? Wasn't it 2-0?
Oh, Villa. Yeah.
Was it a double against us?
Yeah, I think it was 2-0 last season.
Or 2-1.
Do you know what, Arthur? I'm not gonna lie to you.
2-1.
I can only see a Villa win, man. I hope I'm wrong. But Unai Emery has got that Villa team cooking something different out there. They are scary. I've been calling Villa and Newcastle since last season. Zeus can testify. And Villa are, someone was saying on the football terrace earlier, we're disrespecting Aston Villa, They are in the title challenge.
I'm not disrespecting Aston Villa. I'm not disrespecting. They're coming to Tottenham, to Spurs, and I think that we are going to win. That's not disrespecting Aston Villa. Come on, we're Spurs. Like, look at the players we've got.
We are Spurs, but we're Spurs without man is the same.
Yeah, but we were Spurs without Harry Kane on the first game of the season, and we've never done that for years. We've been Spurs without Harry Kane all season. We've been Spurs with Madders and Son having to come off every game after 65 minutes. We've had Basuma suspended. We had Romero. We lost Romero after 50 minutes of the first game, and then we still drew 2-2 against Brentford away. We're constantly we're still Spurs, and the difference now is that they all believe that they can go and do something regardless of what's happened. There's no moping. They're not. You see the pictures in training. They're not down. They're just happy to be playing. And so I think anything we achieve now with all of this adversity will just mean even more to them, which is why they're going to try. We're going to beat Villa.
Arthur,
hopefully.
I'm not going to lie to you, mate. That's all I want. That is all I bloody want. That's all I want. If we can do that, mate, honestly, the shaking of bums violently will be shameless on the channels this weekend. I hope we beat Villa. I'm not going to lie. I am petrified of the game. My heart is saying a draw. My head is saying we will probably lose. But hey, what do I know? Spurs fans, that don't make me any less a Spurs fans. Make sure you like and subscribe. Arthur, Zeus, Kieran have given you the blueprint. What we need to do to get into the Champions League. And I'm not going to lie, Arthur and Kieran, them man have lifted my spirits because I bloody hope they're right. I bloody hope you guys, if you guys are bloody wrong, if me and Zeus end up being right, you best pick up your bloody phones because I'm going to be royally pissed this weekend. But no, on that note, thank you, everyone. Arthur, thank you for being in the building.
Thanks, man.
Zeus, up to you again, and good night.
Good chat, man.
Don't know, yeah. Don't know, yeah. Don't know, yeah. Don't know, it's a vibe. Don't know, it's a vibe. Don't know, yeah. Don't know, it's a vibe. Don't know, juice poured up, and I know it's a vibe. Like rolling with a man, I'm a vibe. Don't know, yeah. Don't know, yeah. Don't know, yeah. it's a vibe.